you for tuning in to another episode of Healthy Food, Happy You. We have an exciting show for you today. In our studio, we have Merlene Vassall, author of The Vampire and the Vegan. Thank you, Merlene, for joining us today. I'm glad to have you.
Thank you so much for having me here.
You're welcome. So, first off, what inspired you to write The Vampire and the Vegan?
I was inspired to write The Vampire and the Vegan because for two reasons. One is to get a message across, and the other is to get a message across in a way that I thought would be entertaining and enjoyable for people who are receiving the message. I wanted to share with people my ideas about veganism and treating animals with respect, and I thought an interesting way to do it would be by metaphor, comparing the way that a vampire views humans as food only with the way that many humans view animals just as food.
Give me some other examples of what inspired you to write this book, because it is quite different.
Well, the other thing that I would mention is that, and it may sound a little strange, but I was in my home one day thinking about vampires and why vampires do what they do, which is a weird thing to do, but I've always liked vampires because I think they're mysterious and sexy. And somehow I started thinking, wouldn't it be interesting if the reason that vampires were eating humans was because humans were eating animals? Interesting. And then what came to mind was the idea of cholesterol, because most of the cholesterol that humans have in their blood, especially excess cholesterol, comes from eating meat and cheese and dairy products and eggs.
Definitely.
So then I started thinking, well, maybe the vampire is attracted to cholesterol. But that didn't quite work. So I ended up with the idea of necromantic energy, which is an energy, this is something that I just made up, but it's an energy that is produced when animals are either butchered or mistreated by humans, and then it permeates their meat, their eggs, their milk. Then when humans consume the animal products, the necromantic energy goes into the human blood. And this is what the vampire is actually feeding on.
So The Vampire and the Vegan, now this is just one book in a series of books.
Right, this is the first book. In this book, Pearl, the vampire, meets a man named Salam who happens to be vegan. Because he's vegan, he doesn't have necromantic energy, so she doesn't see him as food. So then she ends up becoming friends with him and learning about veganism, and it causes her to question the way that she's been treating humans, which is basically seducing men and killing them. She starts thinking, well, maybe that's not the way to go. And she starts learning about veganism from Salam, and that's the main plot of this book.
An interesting take on becoming a vegetarian through a vampire's eyes here.
Exactly.
So what can we expect from the sequel? Because this book, I have to say, was just wonderful. I just was, my eyes were glued. I finished this book in one night because I did want to get a feel of where you were coming from a vegan perspective and a literary talent. What can we expect from the next book, and what are your future projects?
Okay, well, this book, the subtitle is Book 1, Food. The next book will be called Book 2, Livestock. In the second book, humans are going to be factory farmed by vampires, not just for food, but for all the things that humans currently use animals for, such as their skin, their hair, various body parts. And it's really going to be a horrific kind of place for human beings to be in, which is basically the place that many animals are in. So that'll be book 2. It'll have the same characters from the first book.
So how has this book been received throughout the literary community?
Okay, thus far, I'll mention that it's a brand new book. It just came out January 2011. But the people who have read it thus far have really enjoyed it. They've told me they've been able to read it very quickly. It's very fast-paced. My experience as a proposal writer has taught me to be quick and to the point because you only have a limited number of pages. And that has actually helped me in making sure that there's not a lot of fluff in here. The book is short.
Yeah, this book will definitely get one's attention, so that is true.
Thank you. And so people who have read it who are not vegan have told me, a few of them have said that they are now interested in either becoming vegan or at least eating less meat. Of course, the vegans like it. But something that I really need to make sure I emphasize is that it's a fun book to read. There's a lot of sex. The vampire is going around seducing men, getting them into some sexual situation before she kills them. So it's a lot of fun.
For those of us who are interested in getting your book, where can we find it?
Okay, great question. Actually, you can order it from the website, vampireandvegan.com, and it's also available on major online book distributors such as Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com. Those sorts of websites also carry it.
So Merlene, tell us a little bit about I understand there's a lot of wonderful things on your website, the vampireandthevegan.com.
Okay, yes. What I'm most proud of on the website is on the page that's about the story and the characters. It has a synopsis of the four main characters, the vampire, the vegan, and then the girlfriend, quote unquote, and male friend of the vegan. Mm-hmm. And John Rolls, who's a great local musician, has composed theme music for each of the four main characters.
Oh, wonderful.
And you can click on the link on the website and actually hear the theme songs for each of the characters. Also, I'm emailing to anyone who requests it the first 3 chapters free. So that'll give you an opportunity to try the book before you buy it.
Oh, that's nice and quite a wonderful surprise. How often are you able to read the first 3 chapters of a book and decide if you would like to purchase that? You know, I just really had a great time interviewing you today, Merlene. I hope everyone, not just in the vegan community, but in all communities, pick up The Vampire and the Vegan, Merlene Vassall, what I would say a great literary talent. We appreciate her time, and thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Healthy Food, Happy You.